Oh, hello, Joe.
Oh, hello now. How are you?
Yeah, good, good.
So,
It's nice to see you.
it's haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been like I don't know. Who knows?
like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I have some questions for you.
Do you? That's a surprise.
I know it's almost like this
I was
is
wondering why you were calling me.
with the recording and with my interviewing jacket on.
All right, hit me.
All right.
Question one.
Question one: Who are you? For the people who don't know
Oh,
you,
starting off tough one, eh?
it's a tough one.
Well, I'm Melovix,
Mm.
aka James. I'm one of your friends, and have been for like what 5 years now. 5 years.
4.5, somewhere in there.
Yeah. But I'm like a fellow human, you know, just a dude. I'm currently unemployed. I'm ex-military. I have a partner. Her name's Beck. I have a son. His name is Isaac. 2 dogs, Willow and Pebbles, and a cat named Mouse. I'm currently getting my helicopter license. There's not a whole lot of depth to my character, to be honest. That's about it. I drink a lot and play video games at the moment. That's
Okay.
it. That's who I am. That's my whole identity.
Just laid out your identity in less than a minute 40.
Yeah, that's it. Done.
All right. So let's unpack that because that's, in my opinion, quite dense. What got you into the military? Why was
Well,
that a career path?
well, my dad was in the army, and my mum and him split up when I was about 3, and so I didn't really remember them being together. But I always had a really good relationship with my dad, and idolized him for the majority of my childhood and young adulthood, I guess, until I sort of grew up and realized that dad is just another human that makes mistakes and stuff like that. But so I always wanted to be like him. My mum, after him and her split up, sort of had a thing for military men. Not that she was loose with her morals or anything. She was just very unlucky in love, mostly because I was a shithead of a child. And so any of her partners that she would be with would have to deal with me. And I was just a prick, just an absolute terrorist of a child. So, and my mum loved me to death, and I couldn't do any wrong in her eyes. So, you know, this poor man that is in love with my mother and wants the best for her is watching me be a terrorist and get away with murder, and so it's, you know, I don't blame myself, but at the same time, I think I would have been a really shitty child to deal with. So, but anyway, in any case, Mum went through a lot of military men that were in the Air Force mostly.
Did you like
Or,
live kind of like in a reasonable distance to the like air base and whatnot, or?
yeah, all the time. So my mum would meet a fella, they'd shack up, and he'd be about to be posted. So he'd be posted to, you know, some other base, and we'd move with him, and then they'd split up, and she'd meet someone else, and then they'd shack up, and he'd be about to be posted. I ended up posting all over the place, and I went to more schools than years I was in school. And, you know, changing from Queensland to New South Wales and stuff like that, I ended up having to do, I think I did year 3 twice, not because I was an idiot, just because the way like your age works and stuff. But in any case, I was sort of pigeonholed into being in the military because that was my life as a childhood, and I didn't really know anything else. And I kind of went off the rails in my late teens. I was doing drugs, and my mum was with a bloke who was physically abusive, so I'd really tried to get out of the house quickly. But my life just was shit. You know, like I was a DJ at a nightclub and earned like $250 a week, and that was like, my rent was like $200 a week between me and my housemate, and the rest of the money went on to drugs and booze. So, you know, I was always asking mum for money and shit, and eventually just moved back in with mum, but I needed some direction in my life. And that's when I joined the military. I thought, fuck it, I'll go be a pilot in the military. And I went to join that as a pilot, and they said, no, you're kidding yourself. You haven't done year 11 and 12. You've not stuck to anything in your life ever. And being a pilot is quite difficult. So they said, go away and do year 11 and 12 and come back. And I went away and I did 6 months of year 11 and 12 because, I never stuck to anything in my life. And I met my son's mother, Jackie, at TAFE. And we left TAFE together because we were spending our time doing other things. And then I went back and joined the military as a avionics technician because I only needed to do year 10 for that, and they were screaming out for him. So I was desperate to join and just get some direction in my life, and that's when I joined as AvTech, and I was in for 14 years. But that's why I joined the military. It's a lot. I was always gonna. I think my mum always used to say that I was always gonna go to ADFA, which is the Australian Defence Force Academy. It's a university for military people.
Yeah.
And it's quite prestigious. They used to have an advertising ADFA where the kids had, there was a group of people that were graduating from school and joining ADFA, and the group got smaller and smaller and smaller until there was like one or two left that graduated ADFA. But I was always going to join the military. It was written in the stars. It was my destiny.
Do you think that joining the military was like a very positive thing for you then?
It absolutely. So, firstly, my mum was never very good with limitations. I would get in trouble, and I'd do something dumb like set fire to the fucking blinds in the kitchen or something, as you do as a kid. Just normal kid stuff.
Yeah, I set fire to things.
And she would ground me for a week, and I would say, "Oh, but I've got that sleepover tomorrow," and she'd be like, "Okay, well, you can go to that, but for the rest of the week, you're grounded." So. I was very good at pushing boundaries, and I had my mum wrapped around my little finger because she loved me, and and I could do whatever I wanted, and I always knew I would get away with it. And so I grew into my adulthood thinking that boundaries were made to be pressed, and obviously that doesn't really work as an adult.
No, it doesn't.
Speed limits, not a suggestion that you can sort of push a little bit and get away with. I learned, but. And so joining the military, there's no room for pushing boundaries. Like as a civilian or as a kid, as an adult, you can push the boundaries and there's risk. Like I'm going to speed, and the risk is that I get caught and I have to pay a fine. Maybe I go so far as to lose my license. If I drink drive or something, and I take that risk because I'm used to pushing boundaries and think I'll get away with it. You drink drive and you lose your license, and that sucks. Whereas in the military, you lose your license, you're in a whole load of trouble. You've got to start explaining why the military wants to keep you, and and it could ruin your life. So it's not a risk anymore, and it's kind of like if you do the wrong thing, you will get in trouble. It's not a risk anymore; it's a choice. You choose to do the wrong thing, knowing that you're going to get in the shit, and it takes away the choice in my mind, and there was no boundaries to push. So for 14 years, I was quite controlled in my life, and it worked really well for me. I needed it, especially as a kid. I kind of resent that control now that I'm not in the military anymore. But for 14 years, it was really good that I had that, and it probably saved. I wouldn't say saved my life. I wasn't going to die, but certainly put my life back on a positive track. I was really going down the wrong path as a kid. And I say as a kid, I mean like late teens, early 20s.
Yeah. Kind of like
I was
younger than
just
me.
very young and dumb. Yeah. Young and dumb, and just thought I was invincible, and I had all the ideas in the world for how life should be, and I was really wrong. So, getting in the military really was a positive thing for me.
There definitely is like a mentality that people have, kind of similar to what you were saying about, oh, I could get away with anything, where someone speeds and they're like, oh, I can get away with this, and they like try to do the same kind of tactics to manipulate like the officer, and they're like, no, that's not gonna
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
And I find it really interesting that it's like, oh, this is what the real world is actually like. I kind of had that when I went over to see you.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is what shopping's like.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they're the main character, right?
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, I'm the protagonist in my world.
Yeah, I'll get away with this. And you know, a lot of people are more sensible than that. I'm still not. I'm still an idiot. I still drink too much and then go for a drive. You know, it's much more controlled now than when I was a kid. And a lot of people will say, "Well, you drink drive, you're going to hell. You know, burn in jail, you bastard." But you know, I might drink a 6-pack of beer and run out of beer, and the bottle shop's 500 meters down the road, so I'll just drive down there. I could walk, but you know, I take the risk. And you know, and I probably won't ever regret that risk until I run over someone's kid, and you know, then maybe I'll have second thoughts about it. But you know, when I was a kid, I would be blind drunk and decide I'm going to go to the servo to get some chicken wings. You know, like absolute stupid shit that I don't need to do. And you know, I'd be giggling to myself about how what a rebel I am. You know, driving so pissed, and you know, it's not a risk I would ever take as an adult. Like the things I did as a kid were so stupid. You know,
I look back at myself like 5 years ago, maybe 5-6 years ago, and God, I was dumb.
Yeah, and it doesn't ever change. You know, the older you get, the more you realize how little you knew back in the day, I guess. And that age where you were young and dumb just is older and older as you get older and older. You know, I'm 37 now, and when I was 30, I thought I was an idiot when I was 20. And now that I'm 37, I think I was an idiot when I was 30.
Yeah.
And, you know, and when I'm 50, I'll think I was an idiot when I was 40, you know, and you just get older and wiser. And I hope, for the most part anyway, I don't want to get any dumber than I am. But
I don't think you're going to get dumber, Mel. I think you're on a positive track nowadays.
Yeah, plus there's not really much further down to go. But you know, it's just the things that I used to do. You know, when I first got my motorbike license, it was before the time of GoPros and things like that you'd stick to your helmet. So I was riding my bike like an idiot. You know, a 90k zone, I'm doing 150 in between cars and stuff, trying to be cool, and I'm holding my phone because I'm recording it. So I'm riding with one hand. You know, and I'm holding my phone, and I'm more watching my phone, and you know, just stupid things where you know I could hurt myself or somebody else. And
1 second wrong,
you know,
you've crashed or hit someone, or yeah.
And it makes me cringe now because I'm like, oh my god, I can't. Like, if you couldn't even pay me to do that now, I'd be so terrified. Whereas as a kid, I was like, I'm fucking bulletproof. I'm never going to fall off. I'm the best motorbike rider there is.
There's definitely a thing in like younger adults, like I guess people my age and a bit younger, where you're like, oh, I'm invincible, and then you get hurt, and then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. As you get older, you start to realize how seriously injured you could be at any time. You know, and you start to become more fearful, and which is strange because you know I'm not particularly afraid of dying. I'm not in any rush, and I don't want to, but you know, I'm more controlled in what I do now, more because I don't want to hurt myself. You know, I don't want to be trapped in my body but paralyzed or brain damaged or something. You know, and stuck in a wheelchair for the next. Not that there's any. You know, I wouldn't want anybody that's in a wheelchair to be watching this thinking that I think down of them. But you know, I have use of my legs, and I want to keep that. You know, so. You know, that
was one of my greatest fears growing up, was going blind.
Yeah, it'd be tough
like just waking up and being like, "Oh, I'm blind." Because I have a big issue remembering faces.
Yeah.
Especially because well, you guys are online, like all my friends. It's like my fear is I would forget faces.
Yeah, right.
And when I was drunk on your floor with a chicken Kiev, I couldn't remember, even though I had talked to you like an hour before, I couldn't remember your face or your voice, and then I was just kind of sad on the floor and being like, if I lose my hearing, this is going to be really sad.
Because you'll never know what my voice sounds like.
Yeah, but in reality, I was just drunk on the floor.
Yeah, you just pissed, wondering where you are, why the sky is grass, and
it's just a weird thing that I've experienced being, I think more so in the last few years, because I had an operation to remove my gallbladder 5 or 6 years ago, and that was like that was my first operation, and it kind of made me realize like, oh, there can be things wrong with me physically, and definitely things wrong mentally sometimes. And that
sometimes all the time.
Sometimes. Yeah.
No, you're not invincible. You're not going to live forever. You're not the main character. You are just another person.
Do you look back at those videos, if you have them, those videos of you doing reckless things, young? Do you ever look back?
I don't even have the videos anymore, and to be honest, I never showed anybody because I was worried that, you know, in some way someone would get a hold of them and show the police, and I'd go to jail. You know, like that's
a valid fear, I think.
Just a continuation of being young and dumb, right? Because that's probably not going to happen. But you know, I had them on whatever phone that was at the time, and then that phone's broken, lost, or whatever. I find
it really annoying because we live in like the digital age where everyone's trying to get attention nowadays. People do that stuff and they'll post it for attention.
Yeah.
And then when people get bored of that, like they'll be like, "All right, I have to up it." And then you see on the news, it's like, "Oh, a person on a motorbike ran into a wall."
Yeah. Doing stupid shit. Yeah.
There was a couple on YouTube a long time ago. I can't remember what year it was, and he kept pushing various stunts. And then he was recording a video of I think it was his wife shooting a book that he was holding in front of him. Yeah,
right.
And he died.
Oh.
Yeah.
epic final stunt.
And he died.
What an idiot. What did he think the book would stop the bullet or something? Or?
Yeah.
And did she get charged?
Yeah, she got
manslaughter or
manslaughter, something? Went to jail, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Ruined both their lives for...
Yeah, she shot her husband, fiance, or whatever. She went to jail.
I wonder at what point they realised it went wrong. Like when and they've gone bang, and he's gone, oh, wait a minute.
He like looks down in the movie, he's just all pull it. He's like, oh fuck.
Oh no. That'll be right. This will be the best video ever on YouTube. Yeah, there's lots of people doing stunts and stuff that goes wrong, but then there's lots of people that do these stunts and they're totally fine. You know, the one thing that makes my palms sweaty is watching them people jump along the roof of buildings and shit.
Oh, like the Chinese parkourers.
Oh, yuck! I can't even watch it. Even thinking about it makes my hands sweaty. So
the people
I'm terrified of heights.
You went bungee jumping.
Yeah, but that's why, right? Like that. Beck was like, it's not bravery, it's just stupid. Like, why would you do it if you're scared? It's just stupid. And I'm like, I think that's the meaning of bravery, is to be afraid but still do something.
I think, there's definitely a disconnect between jumping along the side of a building and bungee jumping. In bungee jumping, you're guaranteed some form of safety. If you misstep on a building, you go and splat on the ground.
You're dead. Yeah. I think that's one thing that come out of my time in the military too. Is the idea of pushing my limits. I remember abseiling in the military once, and it was like, I don't know, maybe a 40-50 meter cliff that we abseiled down, and I am absolutely terrified of heights. Debilitatingly, I can't go close to an edge. I can't stand on a balcony in a hotel. One of the things that really creeps me out is when I'm on something like that with somebody else and I can see them, you know, looking over the balcony edge, and it makes my heart flutter, and you know, and I get really, really scared. So doing abseiling was horrible. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And I did. Abseiled down. I got down as quickly as I possibly could because I just didn't want to be up there. I was jumping as fast as I could and got down to the bottom and felt really good when I got to the bottom. And then I had to climb back up. And it was on this bloody ladder that was like, 7 inches wide. Just this little dangly ladder that's, flopping all over the place. And I got on the ladder and I'm like, okay, I'll start. And I got probably 2 meters off the ground, which was too high for me. And I'm standing there and I'm thinking, there's no way I can do this. And I got back down, pulled myself back down because the person up the top that's belaying me is like trying to stop me from falling and stop me from going down. And I'm forcing myself down, pulling this poor person off the cliff. So they finally let me go and I got back down and I said to the instructor, I was like, I'm not doing it. Tell me how to walk around, and I'm not going. I don't care what you do to me. I'm not doing this. And he's like, all right, well, I'll tell you how to get up there, but I want you to try once more. And in between now and then, let this next person go up. Now and then, just tell yourself that you can do this. And so I was like, okay, I'll do this, you idiot. I'm still not going to do it. And I'm standing there going, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I got on and then this other person left, and I got on the ladder and I closed my eyes and climbed the whole ladder, and I was beyond terrified, but I was just doing it. And I got to the top. And what I learned from this is that, that was my absolute limit. There was no way I was going to do this. I was not going to climb that ladder. And then I did. So this limit that I had, I pushed it, and now that's not my limit. The next time I have to climb a friggin' 40-meter ladder for some reason, I'm gonna know I can do it despite being terrified. And
it's a mind over matter situation.
Yeah, and it translates to so much. Like I can do things that scare me. I know that. So doing bungee jumping and skydiving and things that these things that are terrifying, I get so much reward from doing it because I've pushed myself beyond this fear. And whereas people like Beck, my partner, she just wouldn't feel that. She wouldn't feel good about having done it. She would be terrified until it was over, and then she would think that was terrible. I don't know why I did it.
It's more traumatizing for her.
Yeah. And I don't think that it's something you can really explain. I wouldn't be able to explain it to her to say like I'm scared and I push myself and then I feel really good about having pushed myself. Plus bungee jumping was fun as hell, but really, really terrifying.
I like the scream that you did.
It sounded like that screaming goat.
It was great.
But no, bungee jumping was really fun, and I think anybody should push their limits like that. So because by pushing your limits, you find that isn't really a limit. Maybe I wouldn't be able to jump across the roof of a building. That probably really would be a limit. But bungee jumping 2 years ago, I would have said no, hell no. Now I've done it, and it was fun, and I'd do it again.
So, staying in the realm of heights, what made you want to pursue being a pilot for a helicopter?
A lot of people say that, and I really hate flying too. I've always hated flying. But I'm terrified of being in a plane. The landing and the takeoff is the worst part.
I don't like takeoff. I don't mind landing. No,
I hate it.
I'm tired by the end of a flight, but I'm always just like,
yeah.
Get me off this thing.
You've terrified yourself out into exhaustion, so now you just don't care. But
the engine changes, and you're just like, oh, sweet release.
Yeah. And the sounds of the plane and the clunks and shit, you sit there going, is that normal? Is that clunk normal?
You hit it one.
Did the landing gear go down properly? Does the pilot know about that clunk?
Does the pilot know is one of my favorites.
Yeah. I remember one time being going up to get my wisdom teeth out when I was in the military. When I was posted to Katherine, which is 3 hours south of Darwin, and they didn't have a dentist that could pull your wisdom teeth out in Katherine, so they flew us in this pissant little plane. It was like a pencil with wings up to Darwin, and we got into the plane, and there was no seats. So I was an extra person. So the pilot just whacked me in the cockpit with him, and we flew up. And so I'm staring at all the lights and shit, and I'm like, that looks like we've got low fuel, and what's that light? Has he noticed that light? Like that orange light there and that blinking red one? Like they all look terrible, and it was horrid.
Yeah, and meanwhile you look over at the pilot, and he's just like,
yeah, he's just chilling, and so I'm trying to tell myself he's got to see it. I'm like, with that red light, is that normal? But obviously it was, because we didn't crash and die, or it wasn't normal. But he's just trying to be totally cool about it, like, oh fuck, there's a 20% chance we make this alive, but I don't want to freak everybody out. So, but in any case, we made it. But wanting to be a pilot, I guess, what I told myself before I started flying was, I'm terrified of being a passenger in a car as well.
Yeah.
I say terrified. I don't like it. If someone driving like an idiot and I'm a passenger in the car, I'm scared. I think we're going to die. Oh my God, I'm trying to put the brake on in the passenger seat. And so, but when I'm in control, I can drive like an idiot and I feel totally fine. So and I thought to myself that
you have like a 1-to-1 ratio of like what's going on. You're like, oh
yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna turn like this. I know why I'm turning like this. Not why is he turning like this?
Yeah. So and I thought the same. I told myself it would be the same. I was just afraid of being a passenger because I don't have control and I don't understand what's going on. I don't know the clunks and the lights and shit. And so I thought being a helicopter pilot, I could learn it. And obviously when I wanted to join the military, I wanted to be a pilot. So I've always had a fascination with flying. And when I got out of the military and I kind of was finding myself and deciding what I wanted to do with my life, I kind of thought, I can do anything. I could be a pilot if I want. So I pursued being a pilot, and with this idea in my head that being in control, I will be less scared, and the heights won't bother me as much because I will feel like I'm in control of my flight. And it turned out that was the case. The first time I flew, I was scared. The first time I was in a helicopter and my instructor was flying, we took off and I was thinking to myself, oh no, I am just still scared, and I'm going to stay scared and I can't do this. We got up to 500 feet and I'm looking out the window like thinking, this is the highest I've ever been in my life. I'm 8 kilometers up in the air right now. And he's like, we've just passed 500 feet. And that's as low as we're allowed to fly. So I'm thinking, this is the lowest I'm ever going to go. And I feel so high right now. Having control is, and feeling everything and feeling under control. It helps a hell of a lot. And I'm not really afraid when I'm flying. I don't have a lot of time to think about being afraid. Being a helicopter pilot, there's a lot going on at once. And I've gotten to the point now where I've flown on my own, which was amazing.
Like because of the whole fear of heights, and now you don't have an instructor.
It was nerve-wracking. It was nerve-wracking, but they don't just go, all right, you know how to control it, off you pop. They teach you a lot, and I learned that something going wrong in a helicopter, I think, is a hell of a lot safer than something going wrong in a plane. Because a helicopter, assuming you've got somewhere to put the helicopter down, you can't really go very far like you could in a plane. You kind of, if your engine turns off, you look down and go, okay, I'm going to land there. But you can. It's called auto rotation, whereas the falling of the helicopter is spinning the blades, and then at the last minute, the
force of the
air going up through the blades is spinning it, and then at the last minute, you can sort of cushion. You can use the spinning of the blades to cushion your fall, and in a lot of helicopters, in auto rotation, if you were just a passenger and suddenly you were landing, you wouldn't even know that the engine was off now.
I hate that feeling. I hate that idea so much. To be like, oh, the engine's off, but we landed? Okay.
Yeah. Whereas in a plane, your engine is off. You've got to be moving still. You've got to be going 90 kilometers an hour to stay in the air, even to the point where you touch the ground, and then you need a good long length of landing strip to to slow down enough, and so a lot of emergency landings in planes, you're hitting the ground at 100 kilometers an hour, and hopefully you've got no trees in the way and shit like that. So I think a helicopter is a lot safer, and so I feel quite safe flying around, and they taught me all of that. So when I had my first go as flying around on my own, I was kind of confident enough that if something were to go wrong right now in this 5 minute of flying on my own, I could probably land okay. I'll be safe. I couldn't guarantee that the helicopter wouldn't be broken, but I won't be dead, which is the most important thing.
That's definitely the most important thing, is
yeah
a life over a machinery, I think.
Yeah, and there's some pretty horrible examples of people putting the machine first because they think that they're safe, and they'll put the machine first, and then they end up dead. There's one story about a fella doing an auto rotation into a field, and when he got down to where he was going to start to cushion, and you do a flare at the end, and then as you slow down, you lower, and then you fall to the ground and you cushion that fall. And he was getting to the point where he had to flare, and then he saw a fence, and to save the helicopter, he rose up a little bit, like instead of just crashing into the fence and not going very fast into it. He rose himself up over the fence, and then he fell, let's say 10 meters, and it killed him. Because he's just sitting and he just impacts the ground. 9 times out of 10 you might live through that and be really sore, but it killed him, which is a shame. But and the helicopter was fine, and it's like, great, cool, I've got a helicopter, dead man in it.
Dead man in it.
Yeah. So, but I love flying, and I'm really keen to get back into it, keep going.
When do you get to fly next?
Well, I at the end of the year I do one more test, and assuming I pass that, I can get back into flying.
Nice. I hope it all goes well.
Yeah, me too.
Like a year wasted,
Yeah, it would be wasted. But that's as part, like, so my test it's a hair follicle test to see how much I've been drinking. Because when I got out of the military, I really went downhill. My life, like I told you, I grew up in the military mindset. I joined the military as myself, and I was in for 14 years, which is a really long time. Somebody that's been in for 40 years might not say that, but for someone who's 37, 14 years is a massive chunk of my life, almost all of my adult life. And I identified as the man in the uniform. Without the uniform, when I got out, I didn't really know my own identity. It sounds really cliche, but it's like my life was the military, and now it's gone.
Did you find it hard to look in the mirror and see that you're not wearing the overalls? Whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're called.
Not really. I didn't, but what was hard was to see my partner, who was in the military, Beck. Her to go to work in her uniform. It was, and I was really always very proud of my uniform. I took a lot of care of it. I ironed it really well, which is not something that a lot of people do nowadays. They kind of just stick it in the dryer and it comes out good enough. But I loved wearing a uniform, and to think that I would never wear it again, without it being weird. I could go put it on if I wanted to, but it would be like I'd be a fraud. It was hard, and I really went downhill. I started drinking way more than I already did, and I probably already drank too much. And I started to get, you might remember that time where I had some issues with my heart, and they gave me medication for it.
Yeah,
they gave me Valium because they thought it was possibly alcohol withdrawal. And they gave me pain relief in the form of opiates. So I was on opiates, I was on Valium, I was drinking, and I was just going down the shitter. And it came to a head where I ended up in hospital after a suicide attempt for however long it was. And I've never been suicidal, and I'm not suicidal. I don't want to die, even in the worst of times. I've never wanted to die, but a cocktail of Valium, opiates, booze, all of my mental health medication that I was taking at the time, overdosed on all of that. It just flicked a switch in my head, and I made a drastic decision. And I'm really glad that I didn't do something more violent, like try and drive my car into a tree at 100 kilometers an hour or something, which is, men tend to do these really violent things when they commit suicide.
There's definitely like school shooters, for instance. They definitely they'll go up, they'll shoot 20 odd people, whatever, and then they'll shoot themselves. And like they'll look into the person and it's like, oh, this person was very suicidal, and it's this kind of act of taking people out with me.
Yeah, go out in a blaze of glory.
There's definitely I've seen stories of people drive a car. There was a person who drove a car through like Melbourne CBD on the sidewalks like 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like,
well, that's happened multiple times now.
Yeah, I don't want to go to Melbourne. It's kind of scary at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I think it takes it takes a really broken person to want to commit suicide. I think that all hope is lost, and that's the most important thing. Is that no matter how bad something is, that you need to have some hope that it will get better at some point, even if it's a really long way away. And just having something to hope for, something in the future, is often all you need to keep going. And if you lose that hope, then it's really dangerous. And I think that it takes a very broken person to take their own life, and it takes an far more broken person to kill people before they go. You want to leave some kind of mark before you go. It's really horrible. And I have a lot of empathy for people so broken, because I wonder how did you get there.
It was
in any case,
the like stepping stones to that final spot. It's like, what happened along the way?
I feel strongly for people who are suicidal, and while sometimes these people don't really deserve any empathy, the things they do are horrible. I still kind of wonder, how did you get there? What happened? What happened in your life? Was it just that you were born with a piece of your brain not working properly and you decided to do that, or what terrible things happened to you? Anyway, it ended with my soiree into bloody doing all them drugs and booze and stuff ended with a suicide attempt that I obviously regretted. Ended up in hospital, and I kind of I didn't get a lot from that time in hospital, other than time to reflect on what the fuck I was doing with my life. And then that's when I decided to get on track, I suppose. But unfortunately, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority in Australia, who gives me clearance to be allowed to fly, doesn't like my history with drug use and drinking.
Like, obviously, so I had to for good reason. They're like, oh,
they don't really want a pilot to be, while I've got passengers in the aircraft, to do exactly what you were saying, go out in a blaze of glory and decide I'm going to kill myself, but take everybody with me.
Yeah.
Or even just be drunk in the plane or in the helicopter or on drugs.
It's the same thing as a drunk driver. You don't want a drunk pilot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, so for a year, I have to do these tests to prove to CASA that it was just a tough time in my life and I don't have a problem with alcohol and drug use. Like prescription drug use, it's not really a problem for me. It was I had them at the time, and I had no impulse control at the best of times, let alone when I'm pissed. So taking opiates and Valium, they feel good and I love them. And so I was doing that just as I had the opportunity. But booze for me really is a problem. This year has been difficult for me to not drink, and I would really hate for this year that I've done these tests, to get to the end and fail now. That would be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And I don't, without doing the helicopter thing, I don't really know what I would do. But we'll see if that comes around. It's not going to be the end of my life, but I got something out of flying a helicopter that I got out of being in the military. When I was trying to find myself after being in the military and deciding what I wanted to do with my life, I found that I was really proud of being in the military, and I needed something that I could be proud of. So I explored the idea of being a paramedic, because I like the idea of helping people, for one, and being proud of what I do. That's important to me. And it's a calling, much like being in the military is. It's you don't really be a paramedic for the money or the job.
Yeah, it's a decision to be a paramedic.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh fuck, I ended up as a paramedic. It's like,
yeah. And so I really wanted to do that, but I there's no way for the life of me I could study for so long. So it's not going to happen. And being a helicopter pilot, I can be proud of that for different reasons. It's not a calling, but when I used to say I'm in the military, people would be like, "Wow, tell me about it." And being a helicopter pilot, people are like, "Wow, that's cool." It's a different reason, but it's still something I can be proud of. So, it was a tough time getting out of the military, but I think I found my direction now. And if I were to lose that at the 11th hour because I've drank too much this 3-month period, it would be really hard for me to then, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to do with my life?
yeah.
But we'll see. If I'll cross that bridge. I know I will. In the same vein of having pushed my limits in bungee jumping and stuff, I know now that I can get through a period of not really knowing what I want to do with my life. So if I'm not going to be a helicopter pilot, I'll find something else eventually.
Nice. So let's move on a little bit.
Okay.
Video games.
Yeah.
All right. We play video games.
Yeah.
What's your history?
Massive nerds.
Massive nerds. We both like League of Legends, and
yeah,
I guess we both like PUBG enough to play it every now and again.
Uh-huh.
Various other games. So.
Kind of cracked at it, but whatever.
Yep, we're both kind of into.
Just teammates that let me down.
What's your history with video games?
Well, my dad, who I told you I idolized as a kid, he was a computer nerd before computer nerds were even a thing. I remember him telling me about a computer that he had, and it had 8K memory, and he spent $400 or something at the time, which is, in the 80s would have been an absurd amount of money for a piece of computer.
Yeah, that would be actually
to upgrade it to a 12K computer. And this is like the days of Commodore 64s and stuff like that. He was a massive nerd. And I grew up playing video games with him, and loved every second of playing video games with my dad.
Do you have any particular memories? Like what games or anything?
Age of Empires, Heroes of Might and Magic 3, I remember. We used to play the games like Age of Empires a lot together, where you build a base. There was one, I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, those kind of games, but and role-playing games we'd play together. He bought me my first console. He bought me a PlayStation, because the fellow where I lived when I was about in grade 5 and 6, so I don't know how old I was at that point, 8 or 9 or something. There's a fella next door who had a PlayStation, and for some reason, I decided it was a good idea to ask him if I could borrow it. Somehow I found out he had it, and this bloke was like, "Yeah, okay, no worries, you can borrow it." And he had, and it was cracked, so we could play, pirated games. And he had a big, disc case of games, and I just would play a game for 5 minutes and play the next one. And I remember the first one I really got stuck on was Final Fantasy VII.
That makes a lot of sense. Knowing you, yeah, that makes a lot. It just kind of seemed, because you enjoy playing games like the Pathfinder games and also and like
role
other
playing game.
yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And so Dad bought me a PlayStation and Final Fantasy VII. It was the greatest Christmas. But also, I remember one time I went with my dad to my uncle's house because my uncle was a computer nerd too, and my dad and my uncle used to play games together. But they would play games that, like Civilization, that were kind of at that age were beyond me. I couldn't really sit there and understand that kind of stuff. But he took a laptop at the time, and the laptop had Baldur's Gate on it, Baldur's Gate #1. And it was the first adult role-playing game I played as a kid, where I had to read and I had to like decide things and my choices mattered and I could save people or kill them. And
there's a lot of interactions like with NPCs in that game. It is on my to playlist at some point, the first Baldur's Gate.
It's very dated now, but I love that the story is amazing. And so if you can get past the terrible UI and gameplay, the story's still really
I don't mind retro games. I find myself going back to retro games every now and again.
Yeah. And I play it now for the nostalgia, but I've played it so many times now that even the value of that is very low. But I love it. I loved it as a kid playing video games, and I'm very much a variety gamer. There's no real genre of game that I stick to. I love first-person shooters for 5 minutes, and then I'll play a really in-depth role-playing game. But then I want to play an adventure game that's just hack and slash, like Diablo. I've never been very competitive. I'm not really a competitive gamer. Firstly, because I'm not really good at any competitive games. I'm average at most games. So for the most part, I just get fucking smoked by the dudes that are really good at the game. And League of Legends is really one of the only competitive games that I've stuck to, much to my disappointment. It's a love-hate relationship, that one.
It's one of those games that you can be like, oh, let's play League all day, and you can have heaps of fun, and then you play it the next game and the next day, and then you're like, God, why are we playing this? It is the worst. Yeah, it is an abusive relationship.
Yeah, and as a kid, I had a really bad temper with video games. I would be throwing my controllers and smashing the discs of the game and stuff. When I died, and just an absolute crazy kid. And as an adult, I still feel that. Obviously, I take my frustrations out in other ways. Like I think, okay, I'm going to play something else now because this is annoying me too much, or whatever. I'm a little more mature with my with dealing with my anger. But I remember World of Tanks was a game that I used to play pretty heavily. But I would lose in that game and be so mad that it would ruin my day. I would be so grumpy all day. And I had a partner at the time, and she would annoy me because I was in such a bad mood. And it got to the point where I said to myself, I need to not play this game because it's ruining my life, really. I'm getting far less out of this than. I'm getting much more negativity out of this game than I am any positive. And League of Legends, I think I'm a lot older now, and I just don't let it get to that point. But League of Legends, I sometimes think that I feel much more anger and frustration than I do happiness and positivity about that game. And like you played that game the other day where it went for an hour, and you didn't even feel happy that you won. It was just exhausting.
Yeah.
And you spent an hour being frustrated to fight. Like, it's like smashing my face against a wall feels good when you stop, because it doesn't fucking hurt anymore. And that's what I feel like League is. I win and it feels good because it's not frustrating, not because it feels good that I've won the game and I feel proud of myself and that kind of thing. I feel happy that the other team is frustrated, and it's a very immature way of thinking about it. I don't have an improvement mindset. I don't think, when I die, what could I have done wrong then? And when I die, it's because my flash didn't do what I wanted it to do, and he got lucky with that skill shot or whatever. So I definitely don't have an improvement mindset. So I don't really know why I play League, but I think it's because everybody does, or our whole group of friends
our group
does.
plays it mostly. I think it's only actually no, all of our group plays it. It's kind of a game that we keep going back to. I think that in the last few months, there's definitely been like a search to find other games. Like that's why we started playing PUBG.
Yeah, and I think we're all like that. We all, other than maybe Emily, who's infallibly positive all the time. Which is
Emily's positive in most moments. It is it is incredible how positive Emily can be. We can be like 0 and like 28, and Emily will be positive about the game.
Yeah, and you can tell when Em's frustrated because her positivity has a little twinge of frustration, but she's still positive about it. She's like, oh well, next game will fun. I still had fun. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, shut up! I didn't have any fun at all. Like, that wasn't fun at all. But most of us really, I don't think we like League. We like playing with each other, and that's what we get out of it. Is the companionship, and we're all playing this game together, even if it's a pain in the ass of a game.
Well, that's why. Well, like last night we were playing The Forest. It's like we wanted something else. We weren't doing what the game is kind of designed for. It's going into the caves and exploring the map. No, we were building a base and having fun knocking over trees for 2 hours, and it was fun. It was really fun. And that's
And I think for us to find another game like that, it's going to have to be a game that we all go and play together. Because then that draw of camaraderie and companionship will be at that game now, not League of Legends. And it has to be long-lived as well, like an MMO or something that you can play for years and years. But League is it for us right now, and so we all just keep going back to it, and we get. We have our ups and downs, mostly downs, but every now and then there's enough of an up to keep us going back to it. It's an abusive relationship, like you said.
Do you think, especially in competitive games, there seems to be more of a nature for players to be toxic towards another player? Do you think that there'll ever be a resolve to that kind of behavior? Because it's obviously for years it's been like, oh, you're a keyboard warrior. Meet me in the street, you wouldn't do shit. But on a game, you'll talk shit to me all day. Do you think that will ever kind of be resolved in any way?
Yeah, I don't know. I think as someone who is a recidivist, toxic person, I am always toxic, and I love being toxic and annoying the other player just that little bit more. And it annoys me way more when I've been toxic all game and lose, and I don't understand it, because outside of League of Legends and outside of competitive gaming, I am really not that person. I
not at all.
I'm very empathetic, and I care about people, and I want people to be happy. And I can't imagine going to a party and just picking that dude. And you know what? I'm going to make it my point this whole party to annoy the fuck out of that player. It just it doesn't happen. But it happens in League. I'll get on there and I'm playing against the dude up top, and I'm going to laugh at him and try and piss him off.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You're not toxic in the fact that you're mean and calling them bullshit all game. You're mean. You're toxic in the fact that you're annoying.
Yeah. And
you're the equivalent of standing on the other side of the room and going, loser.
Yeah. I'm just that, I'll laugh at you when you miss a skill shot, and I'll point it out, and when I win the game, I'll say lol instead of GG.
Yeah, you're not abusive.
Just a dickhead. But and so whether or not, I don't know if it will ever change, because anonymity gives people brass balls, right? If for some reason we got teleported when we logged into League of Legends and you started playing, you all got teleported into the same room. So if you're a dick, that bloke could come over and there's immediate repercussions. I think then people would start to be much nicer, and especially if there was a face to it as well. There's a face over there and that's a person. It's not just a friggin' pixel on the computer that I don't ever have to think about again for the rest of my life. But people that are otherwise powerless in their life will feel powerful in games like League of Legends, and and it just brings out the worst in people. And these communities are, the Dota community thinks I'll never play League because they're so negative, and
That's
League
definitely
thinks
something.
the same thing about Dota, and every competitive game has a toxic community according to every other competitive games community.
Yeah, we played HOTS. Well, like we played Heroes of the Storm. We didn't really play together that much, but we both played it. But there was definitely a notoriety towards Dota 2 and League of Legends being like, oh, it's really toxic over there. And then here we are playing League of Legends going, well, Dota's really toxic. We wouldn't play that.
Yeah.
You watch, in 3 or 4 years, we're going to be playing Dota and going, wow, this sucks.
Yeah. And it really is, like, any competitive game, there's always those people out there that are just, that get good mentality, and I think the toxic people breed toxicity through everybody else that may otherwise not be toxic, and I've played a lot of League games where you get into the game and someone says something really great, like, oh, I hope everybody's having a good day, and you just spend the whole time being friendly to each other, and it feels so good. You get to the end of the game going, like, that was so gay, but great, and,
yeah. I had an interaction not that long ago where everyone, I was against the 4-stack or 5-stack, and all of them were like GLHF. I was like, this is a really nice welcome, because half the time someone will be like GLHF and they get told to fuck off. And then other times it's just really kind of nice. You get 10 wholesome people in the game, like 1 out of like 200, and you're like, this is kind of nice.
Yeah. And there was a very small period of time where I had decided to combat my toxicity and frustration with the game is that I would just be really disgustingly friendly.
Yeah, and it really creeped the rest of us out.
Yeah, but it really was good. Like, I would leave games, even ones that I lost, feeling pretty positive, because the whole time, instead of going, oh, you got lucky with that flash and you bastard, sitting in the bush like a little rat, it was like, oh, you beat me there, well played, oh, good shot there. And even if they're not being responsive, or if they're going, what the hell, stop talking to me or whatever, like, I still come out of it much more positively. But that didn't last very long. I don't know. I think that toxic communities will always be around until we do find some way of at least putting a face to who we're playing against, to remind ourselves or to be reminded of the fact that there's another human over there. And when I first started playing competitive games, I really hated winning, because I could imagine my dad, because that was who I played competitive games with. I never beat my dad. But, whenever I would beat someone, I could imagine my dad just being like, oh well, I got beaten. Whereas nowadays, I don't think of that person. I think of the me on the other side going, oh, you bastard, you only got that because you got lucky with that skill shot or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, sucked in, I've made that dude frustrated, and I'm better than you, and that kind of shit. It doesn't. I don't have that same softness towards PvP anymore.
Yeah, do you think that people in like League and CSGO and whatnot, do you think that they're toxic even though that... Because, okay, for me, my League account is level 505. That's right? That's really high.
Mad nerd.
Yeah, I know, right? I added it up. It's something the equivalent of like 3 months nearly of in-game, which that's a lot. That's a lot of time like playing one game. Yet sometimes I'll see accounts higher or similar level to me, and they're very toxic, and you report them, and it's like, oh, your report banned someone, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think that they don't care about their accounts?
I think they do. And I've been banned before.
Yeah, that's kind of why I brought this up.
For transparency, for any of the 6 people that watch this, I've been banned before for being racist, for saying racist things in game, and I'm not racist.
We don't condone racism.
Exactly what racist people say, right? Like, I'm not racist. I just said racist thing that one time. But in any case, as being racist, was telling, I'm in Australia and we're playing video games late at night, and I'm telling people, go back to your own country or whatever, because their name suggested that they were perhaps not Australian.
If it makes you feel any better, one of my old StarCraft 2 accounts was banned for racism.
It doesn't make me feel any better. Racism is never good.
No, it's not.
But and I really cared about that account. Firstly, because it had the name that I made up, and I would never get that name back again. Secondly, because I had spent literally thousands of dollars over the years on the account, and that's all gone. And I think that these people do care, but they are overruled. Like, it's the amygdala hijack in their brain. They are so angry or frustrated that in that moment they do things and say things that they logically would not do, and in a moment of clarity you would think, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to get my account banned. But in that moment of frustration and anger, they're not thinking about that. And if they do, they're not thinking clearly. Which is what it was like in my case. I'd obviously been playing for too long, was probably drunk, very frustrated, very angry, and just had to take it out in some way on somebody. Which is funny because 20 minutes ago I said I think I'm much more mature now with my anger.
I'm gonna come back to that.
Yeah. But I think that these people that get these accounts banned probably really do care, and in a lot of cases, I think League is all people have in their life, and I think people put way too much emphasis on their League rank and their level and stuff like that, and it's because they don't really have much else going on in their life.
That was definitely me when I played HOTS. I grinded every day to get to Diamond, and every loss felt like a shot into my stomach. It meant so much to me, and that definitely translated to when I started playing League. But I think I lose a game now, and I'm more annoyed at the fact that I got diffed in lane than the points that I lost.
Yeah. There needs to be more to your identity than the video game you're playing.
It's a number on the screen. It doesn't mean shit.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there are so many people that it is all that matters to them, and so, like you were saying, they lose a game and it is huge.
It is detrimenting how much it used to annoy me that I lost one game. Now I'm 12 games away from the rank that I want. Yeah. And in exploring my own frustration and anger with PvP games like League, I've done Googling, like, how do I deal with, how do people that just don't get frustrated, how do they do that? And a lot of the times there's plenty of posts out there of people saying, how the fuck do I just not be so angry? Unfortunately, the answer is usually touch grass.
Yeah. Have more in your life than the video game.
I found that when I started filming Clouds, actually, because I would just stand out there for half an hour and be like, this is nice, and I'd come back very detoxed.
Yeah, detoxified. Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit down and eat some waffles,
Yeah. Even little things, you get your enjoyment out of other things in life. And touch grass is a really...
it's such a meme, but it's true. It's just go outside.
Yeah, minimizing a lot of what a lot of people go through. But I think that's true. Just do something else. Play another game. If video gaming is your thing, play another game that you can be the all powerful, almighty, mega awesome dude that you want to be, and then come back to League. Or come back to whatever PvP game is your poison. But the question was whether or not the toxic environments are ever going to leave, and I just don't think so.
I think.
That was the old question, wasn't it? It was more if people cared about losing these accounts, and I think they really do. There's probably people out there that don't, but their problem with their anger and frustration probably goes even deeper than it just being a moment of anger and frustration. There's probably people that don't give a fuck, and it's a free game. I'll just start another account.
Even though you're technically not allowed, but
Yeah.
You're technically not allowed to have Smurfs, but everyone
Yeah.
has Smurfs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a Smurf because I'm already low enough. I'm the lowest elo you can have. What am I going to do? Smurf in iron? Be the lowest, but I'm still probably
God,
going to get beaten in those places.
I was in Iron for a little bit. I dropped into Iron last season, I think.
Mm.
God, it was the worst. Every game has like some inting bot that's just like trying to get to Iron 4 to be sold.
Yeah,
It's the whole black market of accounts and whatnot.
Yeah.
You,
And
you,
I think
you can buy a challenger account on various websites. You can buy a challenger account for $30, or you can buy an Iron 4 account for like $600, because the whole like climbing thing appeals to so many people.
Yeah.
And also getting the inting bot past all the flags to get to Iron 4 is so hard. You gotta make like some type of return on it.
Yeah, it'd be really. Yeah, I think it would be just as hard to lose my way into games without being banned, without it being obvious that I was doing it, as it would be for me to climb. It reminded me for some reason of the reason the communities are so toxic. I think especially because it's a team game, and a lot of people will, especially in lower elos, think they're making the right decision, whatever their decision is. And they think that they've done the right thing, and the reason we're losing is because of my team. I've done my best, and even if I've lost my lane and I'm 08, that's only because the other people aren't doing what they should be doing. It's not me. And again, that lack of improvement mindset in that, what could I have done better? And I think without fail, the people that climb and are really good at the game have an improvement mindset. They watch their replays and they think, what did I do wrong then? And who cares if my bot lane's gone 08, 010 or whatever? And what could I have done to change this? And and I don't do that. And I think a lot of the really toxic people don't do that. They just blame their team. And they have to tell the team that it's your scumbag, you're an idiot. And everybody that they're telling is an idiot thinks they're not the idiot. It's the other person that's the idiot. And so they'll be toxic back. And, so it's,
unfortunately, because I started playing StarCraft 1 when I was like 10, maybe 7, actually. 8. I don't know, somewhere in that kind of region. And I got StarCraft 2 when Harlot Swarm came out, which was like 2012, maybe. That seems roughly right. But like I've had a very long competitive game like genre. Like I've been playing those games for pretty much forever, and unfortunately, since those are 1v1 games, I always like, oh, I'm the issue.
Yeah, because you're the only one.
And I'm sure that you've watched me die and gone, oh, I played that wrong. Even though, like, I probably didn't. It's just like, oh, that's just Joe's mindset of, oh, I probably played that wrong because I have, what was that, like 10 years nearly of of competitive games.
Yeah. And it's something that I've read about in the past, and I don't know if it's still true today, but or if it was even true back then. But what I understand is that Eastern gamers have almost always have the improvement mindset. So, which is why people from the Asian countries just dominate games all the time, because they are invariably have that improvement mindset. And Western gamers like us that are entitled and think we're the main character don't have that improvement mindset as much as they do, and it's a little more difficult for us to access that and be that naturally without it being an effort. Without it being like, oh, that game fucking annoyed me. I feel like the team let me down then, but I'll watch my replay and try and improve. Obviously, the pro players probably have that improvement mindset, and there's a lot of Western gamers, YouTubers, and stuff that I watch that have that, improvement mindset and preach that. But I think that
it's harder for us to get there. So for you to have that and playing 1v1 games, I imagine I can see why that would have taught you that, because there is nobody you can blame. Although you could still blame the mechanics of the game, or blame the fact that dude got lucky, or but it's definitely not scissors, paper, rock.
It's definitely at least in StarCraft 2, because I play StarCraft 2 up until Masters, which at least in OCE, when that was like StarCraft 2 was really like at its prime. That was a hard thing to get to get to Masters. There was definitely points where you're just like, oh, I got cheesed.
Yeah.
Or it was never like, oh, the game's shit. StarCraft 2 was so well designed that it was never like, oh, I have a rock, you have paper, haha, surprise, now I have scissors all of a sudden.
Yeah.
That's I wish that there was more games like that. That's why I'm so excited for Stormgate when it comes out.
Yeah.
Because that's all designed by like the designers of like Warcraft 3, which I also played a shit ton of in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, they were the OG ones. But like, and from what I know from StarCraft is, it's funny that analogy between scissors, paper, rock, because it was really like, I'm doing a thing, and my enemy will do their thing, and they counter each other. You know, if I see he's building the scissors troops, I'm going to build the rock troops. But then he's seen that I'm building rock, so he'll build some paper, and so the idea was a lot of scouting and trying to get, okay, I know what counters that, so I'm going to try and build that as fast as I can before he gets his online, and so that idea that, I think playing StarCraft would very easily fall into the trap of like, oh, he luckily picked rock when I was picking scissors.
Yeah.
Rather than understanding, like, if I was good at the game, I would know what he's building and I wouldn't just build scissors. I would, and it's minimizing it because there's a lot more than rock, paper, scissors to start.
The analogy that we always used, the small group of friends that I had when I played StarCraft, was someone was going to use rock, but so you're playing rock, paper, scissors, but you can see like they're doing this, like to do scissors.
Yeah.
Before they come to attack, so you're already prepping your rock.
That
was the analogy that we used for scouting. It's like what's his throw going to be?
Yeah.
Half the time you lose anyway, and you're like, oh well.
yeah. And I like those kind of tactical games. But I mean, StarCraft was obviously well designed because, I mean, it was the national sport of Korea for a little while. Like they had players that were as well paid as American NFL players and stuff. And they probably still are. And I remember there was a dating website, a dating show in Korea that was funny, that the girls would ask, like, what rank are you in StarCraft? It was a big deal.
Over here recently, there's a dating app for your League of Legends rank.
Yeah, nice.
And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm Silver 2.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in the majority of ranks at the moment.
The dregs of the daters, all the other, I don't want to date a silver person. No, but yeah, I think, that's a little bit.
Maybe that's what everyone's grinding for in their ranks, is they're just trying to get a good profile on that app.
Yeah, I got to get to plat so I can get myself a hot girlfriend. Yeah. But man, there's got to be more to dating than what league rank you are. But I don't know. Maybe two people that have only league in their life, when they meet, they're going to be happy together because
I mean,
as long as they never play the game together.
There's definitely stories out there of like people who've like met someone through another game. I mean, I met Bronx. Obviously, like we're not anything, we're just friends. But like I met Bronx through streaming. And that was just like a common interest thing. Like, I've now I have a really fucking good friend.
Yeah.
And
I mean, 10, maybe even longer, 10, 15 years ago, online dating was sort of just starting to appear.
I mean, it was like chat rooms and shit.
And it was almost taboo. If you'd met online, you didn't want to tell anyone.
You met Roger online.
Yeah. And now, now things like Tinder and Bumble and Grindr and all that kind of stuff are all normal. And it's, where'd you meet? Tinder? Oh, yeah, cool. Like, people don't bat an eyelid. And the majority of my friends, when I say majority, I mean basically all of them. I've met online. You know, and they're my best friends. That for the most part, until a couple of months ago, we've been friends for 5 years, and I only just met you in person.
That was a weird experience.
But know you better than a lot of people that I've met in person. You know.
Yeah.
Being in the military, my friendships were kind of transient. You know, people come and go in and out of your life frequently, and you know, you learn to deal with that. And I think in learning to deal with that is that you don't invest too much in your friendships, because it's not a friendship you're going to have forever and ever and ever. And even the people that I've stayed in contact with, we talk very rarely. But I mean, if I was ever to go to where they live, we would catch up, and it would be like we'd never been apart. But you know, my friendships offline are quite transient and shallow, and my friendships online are much deeper and meaningful to me. And I think that's way more common now than it was long ago.
I think that's just the improvement of like stuff like Instagram and Facebook, and especially Discord for like us. Like we use Discord every day.
Yeah.
Like having like you live in South Australia, I live in Victoria. Like like Lorne lives up in Queensland, JJ's in Tasmania. It's just like the internet's just made online friendships much easier nowadays than what it used to be.
Yeah. And it makes the world is smaller, really. You know, because we're so connected now, and so easily able to do things like this, like being able to just stick a video on and chat like we're in the same room, but we're across the country from each other. 10, 15 years ago, that was a pipe dream. You know, like it was something that people were doing, and it was going to be cool and amazing. And then the NBN came and made it all much easier. But you know, the improvement of the internet and things like that makes it easier, and the world's small. But it makes my drinking problem a bit harder, because
your mic's like hitting your beard, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Like
just cut that bit out.
Don't worry. It's fine.
You know, I've told my psychologist, who I'm working with to help with my drinking problem, that you know, it's like I go to the pub every day and I hang out with my mates at the pub, and you know, we join our Discord channel, and we're all yip-yarring and carrying on, and I'm generally the loudest and most obnoxious, especially when I've been drinking. But you know, at any one day, somebody in our group is having a beer. And you know, and that's very hard for me then to be like, oh, I won't. You know, oh, he's drinking, I'm going to drink. You know, today, and then tomorrow somebody else is drinking, and oh, he's drinking, I'll drink. And you know, and so it's tough. I go to the pub every day to hang out with my friends in the little Discord.
As someone who hasn't been to a pub, I've never drank at a pub before. God. I know, right? I always use the analogy that it's just like. It's like going to like a playground every day.
Yeah. I don't know if I go to playgrounds.
I don't know. I'm 24. You're 37.
Yeah. It's like going to your mate's house.
Yeah.
Going to your mate's house, and everybody turns up. And every day you go to a different mate's house, and you hang out there. You know, like
it invokes the same feeling. After Christmas, most years growing up, like extended family would come and see my grandparents. And like obviously cousins and whatnot would come, and it invokes the same feeling as that everyone's here. We can like come and go as we please, and it's just nice to just hang out. There's definitely been calls where like multiple of us have just sat and done our own thing, and then I have the distinct memory of like my cousin like reading a book in the corner, and one's doing a jigsaw, and one's like watching TV or looking at their phone. Yeah. And it's just like, it's nice. That's how I think about Discord.
Yeah. You're just hanging out. Yeah. And I like that. I really, like, I'm quite extroverted for an introvert, if that makes sense. I get my energy from doing my own thing and being alone. But I also really like having company and being able to chat with people, and it's not every day that I could be on Discord for 9 hours and hang out with everyone, and I sure as shit couldn't do that in person. I couldn't have someone in my house for every single day for 9 hours of the day. But I get my energy from doing my own thing, and I do that for a couple of hours of the day, and then I'll jump on Discord and hang out and be social. So while I don't have much of a social life offline, I still go and do things with people in real life. But like that's once in a blue moon, and that's enough for me. Whereas I think I'm definitely not special in that case. I think nowadays there'd be plenty of people like us that have groups of friends online that are their best friends, and that's basically all the friendships they have and all their social life. And I think it's just as rewarding and just as fulfilling as a social life offline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. We've been talking for an hour and 20 minutes, so I think we can wrap this up now.
Okay. All right. I can talk forever.
No, and that's the thing, right? Is like when I was over at your place. I'll say this before we end. When I was over at your place, was it August? Wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah. July. End of July, maybe. Yeah.
No, I think it was.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, it was fucking a while ago.
August. Yeah.
You and I just like talked, and it made me it made me realize because it'll be calls where I talk to Bronx. Like, I think the longest call that we've been in is something like 10 hours or something, and we just talked. Yeah. And it made me realize I really like listening to people talk, so that's why I bet if I go back and look at the edit of this, and I look at my mic feed and yours, I bet yours is going to be like 95% of the thing.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that we had this discussion. Is there anything you wanted to kind of finish off with quickly?
No, I don't. I don't have any thoughts of my own. I'm glad that you had a lot of questions because, yeah.
I asked like 6.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I can talk,
Okay.
and I think they were good questions. I liked them. It was good.
I like
it was fun.
asking thought-provoking questions, and I like going.
Yeah.
It like you said, we've known each other for like 5 years ish, and I feel like we've never talked about your time in like military or anything apart from.
Yeah.
I think we talked a bit about it when I was over there, but
yeah.
It's
Yeah, that was more like what guns did you shoot and stuff like that. Like,
did you see any action? No, I sat at an office.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
No, definitely not. I got PTSD from that computer chair. It was terribly uncomfortable. No. Hopefully one day someone searching the annals of YouTube for some life advice will see this video and like it and get something out of it. I'm very open with my experiences and my trials and my mistakes and my issues, because I really hope that if I help one person in their life, if one person says, "Oh my God, that guy has the same thing I do," and that's a really good way of thinking about it, or something like that, that would mean so much to me. So hopefully, I very much doubt it, but maybe one day you'll get famous and be ludicrously rich, and someone will see this video and be like, "Wow, that's amazing." But
Go show them someone's YouTube like subscription feed and be like, "Enjoy." Oh, I forgot about it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to end the recording. Right. Goodbye to the people who have sat through this nearly hour and a half of recording.
Yeah, probably just Emily.
Probably.
Emily's probably watched every bit of it. Oh my God,
Emily, if you got this,
we love you.
Yes, and if you got this far, please in the comments or at least message me on Discord saying potato 123.
Yeah. Yep. Try and finesse that algorithm. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell.
Hit that bell.
So when Joe uploads another video in 6 months, you'll get notified. New videos every year or so.
Well, it's like 1 year, I think, at this point.
All right. Ended, Joseph.
Goodbye, everyone.